Akademiks can't ride no wave.
I'm gonna react to Ebro. This nigga Ebro basically hear what he got to say. Matter of fact, let me try to find the full show to see if I could get some context. Rap Live podcast. It's an Apple Music thing.
Nah, that's the greatest promo in the history. That might be the greatest promo.
There you go.
But I think
the rollout.
Wait a minute.
It doesn't even make sense.
Wait, what? Did they say my name?
Has been people making fun of the rollout.
Wait a minute.
It doesn't even make sense bringing up his opinion there.
Wait a
less
minute.
about that nigga's
Oh
opinion.
no, don't get Ebro started on Eddie. Come on, bro.
Yo, I love you, Deska. Deska, I love you, baby. Deska, you know you're my love. You know they could never get a bad word out of me about you. I love you. True loyalty over there. The Deska's a real one. The Deska loves Cole. The Deska used to shoot down all my Cole hate. I got a little Cole hate. She'd be like, fuck out of here. No, she loves Cole a lot. Let me just kind of search in the transcript for, they're talking about, it was Drake. All right. Oh, they do have timestamps. No, not questions. Let's go to transcript. Show transcript. Okay. And let me look at classic. Okay. So this is where it starts at. Let's go.
Now it sounded like that all makes sense and it's fine.
It's not.
But then we were talking about Uzi. You said sometimes you still hold some of these rappers to that bar.
Yeah, because he can really rap.
Fire in the Deska. Yeah.
Huh? No, because Uzi can really rap, but I know that's not what he's trying to do. In that interview, I know when I met him, I knew he could do that. He was basically, that's why the interview went the way it went. He's like, I'm not trying to do that in the game. That's not why I'm here. So I'm waiting for something that's never gonna happen. It's like Low waiting for a classic Drake album. It's never gonna happen.
Oh my God.
Wait, what? Let me go get some Red Bull.
Or
Hey,
not being
y'all
able
come
to.
over from YouTube yet? What's up? Come on. All right, hold on. Let me get a little bit of liquor. We gotta turn up on this, and we gotta go react to Lebebe Baby's mama too. Hold on.
Or people not liking what he brings to the table. He's basically saying like, look, but that wasn't lyrical either. Though.
Yeah. You probably confuse people a little bit sometimes because just now it sounded like that all makes sense and it's fine.
It's not.
But then we were talking about Uzi. You said sometimes you still hold some of these rappers to that bar.
Yeah, because he can really rap.
Fire in the Deska. Yeah.
Huh? No, because Uzi can really rap, but I know that's not what he's trying to do. In that interview, I know when I met him, I knew he could do that. He was basically, that's why the interview went the way it went. He's like, I'm not trying to do that in the game. That's not why I'm here. So I'm waiting for something that's never gonna happen. It's like Low waiting for a classic Drake album. It's never gonna happen.
Oh my God, damn, man.
Trying my hardest.
Damn, you slept like 12 hours last night. What's up, bro?
I lost my train of thought. I was literally about to chime in on that.
No, go ahead. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. You don't even have to respond to that. But sometimes we're waiting for artists to do things that's not what their intent is.
Right.
All right. I don't know why we're once again here in this idea of Drake having a classic album. I'm going to have a qualitative conversation with y'all, but I'm going to try to make it short too. I think Ebro likes to play the villain role, but Ebro is important even in this conversation just because it is someone like him that makes these statements. And I want to tell you where hip-hop came from. You know, I am one of the younger media personality. I'm not the youngest person ever, clearly. I grew up on Drake. I grew up on a lot of these gatekeepers, people like Ebro and others, who literally made it a thing where they defined what a classic album was. And I do see people try to use oh, you said this on Everyday Struggle. Yeah, because I'm on a hip-hop show and it feels like I have to represent hip-hop. You know, over time, I think we realized that hip-hop doesn't change. On that season of even, or that year, 2017, bro, I don't even think I said what I actually even, not that I didn't say what I believe, it's just that I was speaking for mostly these hip hop snobs like Ebro, right? Where I remember like, yo, you're going against Joe Budden. He might ask you what's your best albums. And I was going to name albums I didn't even listen to, my nigga. Like, or not listen to, but like albums that just wasn't like really my cup of tea, or there were favorite albums of me. You know what I mean? Like I was naming like, oh, because these are quintessential hip hop albums. It was like this conversation about hip hop was so rigid. You got to have bars. You got to do this. You got to be like Illmatic. It's got to be like Reasonable Doubt. And those are classic albums. But you know where hip hop media and hip hop changed? Is once people start acknowledging and realizing that these different type of artists, and Kanye's the only person that's a little bit, it's odd with Kanye. Because Kanye has like quintessential, like where he's almost like a backpack rapper. And as his career goes on, we see a lot more musical shit that kind of becomes maybe a little bit dull or dumbed down, but it's still eccentric and it's fucking genre blending, and that's what's dope, right? But when it comes to like Drake, the conversation is like interesting because yes, he could rap, but the idea was that what was considered a classic was strictly only rapping. And if I don't have really any regrets because I do grow. And I do, I know some people, they love to use like clips and like, oh, well, like you said, well, I'm allowed to change my mind. If you asked me that year, because I was still trying to like, I'm like thinking like I'm one of this newly minted hip hop pundits. When I'm speaking about classics, I got to speak about, like, brother, I think I gave a top 5. Yo, I think it's on the show. I think I gave a top 5 and Rakim was in my top 5. Like, bro, I'm not listening to Rakim, bro. I'm just keeping it being with you. He's an amazing MC. He's an amazing artist, and he is one of the greatest hip hop artists. But if I'm giving, bro, I wasn't even American. Nigga, I wasn't even born, nigga. I wasn't even born when this nigga was kicking raps. So it was one of those things where like, you got to like give a list that niggas could feel, right? So if it's like, oh, what's your top 5 rappers of all time? Okay, instant shoo-in Tupac and Biggie, instant shoo-in Nas and Jay-Z, and then you have one more person that you could possibly put in. Yeah, if you're younger, you put in Wayne, it's cool. But like in reality, it wasn't completely catered to what you want, because in conversations, you want to respect. What am I saying? And I don't care how y'all feel about it, but it is what it is. Conversations about Drake always came up, and I always said Drake doesn't have a hip-hop classic. I'm going to tell you what a hip-hop classic. It's that classic that everybody in hip-hop says is classic. It's the, Reasonable Doubt. It's the Blueprint, the album. It's the fucking Stillmatic. Or Illmatic, whatever. Even though both, But with all due respect, I think all those albums are classic. But an artist like Drake didn't fit the mold. He sang too much. There was always this thing like, oh, nah, he got to make a full-on rap album for him to ever have a classic. Bro, that was the dumbest take in history. Drake is prolific. Ye is prolific because they're the fucking guy. They are the fucking formula. They switched all this shit up. This backpack stupid ass rap that these niggas was doing was never gonna sell out stadiums and where hip hop is going. It took niggas like Ye. It took niggas like Drake. And one of the things I remember, I used to say this really weird thing. Drake doesn't have a hip hop classic, but he has a personal classic for me. That's what I call Take Care. Because I said, well, they're going to say, if I give it props and I say hip hop should recognize it as a classic, they're going to be like, so you're saying you could put Take Care to stand next to Reasonable Doubt? That's a lyrical masterpiece. Take Care is not a lyrical masterpiece. Like, do you even know hip hop? And hip hop snobs like Ebro are, I'm not blaming him necessarily for that take, but it's like, he's one of the reasons why people felt that way about hip hop. To me, I felt like hip-hop expanded and was free when I could admit one album was a classic. And I'm going to tell you what album was. It's not Drake. It was Chief Keef, Finally Rich. Because Chief Keef Finally Rich, when it came out, so many people said, man, this is a heap of garbage. This is some drill music fuckery. This guy got no bars. He only has a track called Ha Ha Ha. Ha Ha Ha. No way this could be classic. But that was the quintessential definition, if you ask me, of what being classic is. It defined a generation. It inspired so many people. It was amazing fucking music, unskippable from track 1 all the way to the end. Chief Keef's greatest album. But this idea of rap classics only existed in this really snobby way of looking at it, where you gotta have mad bars. And I'm so glad that shit is over, and I'm so glad it died. So if you want to still try to like latch on to some shit from the past, good for you. But let me give you in a very fair way what classics are. Reasonable Doubt is classic. Volume 2 is classic. Blueprint is classic. Illmatic and Stillmatic, they're classics. Get Rich or Die Trying, that's a classic. Late Registration, College Dropout, classics. Common B, that's classic. Not my particular favorite, because I don't, Carter 3, but I understand people stamping that as classic. My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, classic. Chief Keef Finally Rich, that's a classic as well. Good Kid, Mad City, that's a classic. There was also this thing about like classics are few and far in between, and that's just not true. Classic is a timeless album. That's it. It's just timeless. Means a lot. Pretty much close to being perfect or damn near perfect album. I don't think Thank Me Later is a classic album. I think that Take Care is a classic album. I think Nothing Was the Same as a classic album. If You're Reading This Too Late, classic. I say Views is a classic too. Not More Life. Scorpion's definitely a classic for me. Not Dark Lane Demos. CLB, at this point, is a classic. For All the Dogs, I still want more time. I think we should have a 5-year runoff for any album, even if you love it to death. 5-year runoff. Because part of being a classic is how does it last? I'll give you an example. To Pimp a Butterfly, I think technically it's one of, if I had to rate albums and I was like Pitchfork, that would be one of the highest rated albums in history, To Pimp a Butterfly. But it has low replay value to me. Part of being a classic is this shit has to inspire others. It gotta have some replay value. And if after 5 years we don't want to bump it no more, how much could it be a classic? Not saying it's not a classic, but there are some give and takes when I'm thinking about To Pimp a Butterfly. Damn classic. A lot of these albums that you guys might like, Dirty Sprite 2, classic. There was an era where saying that Future made a classic with raps that was all about the feeling, the vibe, the hits, the mood, but not about the lyrics was sacrilegious. That time is over. And it's the reason why niggas like that believed in that are in Ebro's seat looking antiquated and old and just washed. So the idea of when we're trying to figure out classics, you should understand it. Like, there's many albums. NBA Youngboy Top, that's a classic. AI Youngboy, that's a classic. Well, AI Youngboy more than Top, I would say. It's a classic album. And you might say I'm a little bit too liberal with classics, but there's been like this, like, oh, classics could only belong to certain niggas who are just mad lyrical. Fuck out of here. Just not true. To me, Love Is Rage is a classic. Beg for Mercy, that's a classic. Documentary, that's a classic. All of these albums that I'm naming have so much variety in all of them. Juice WRLD's first album, the name is forgetting me, is evading me. Classic. "17" by X, classic. What, with the albums I've named, what should that tell you about how I view classics? Man, a classic doesn't have to be a bunch of just raps where niggas could be barring niggas up. It could just be great fucking music. And that's where music is now. That's why I look at Ebro and I say he's antiquated, because a lot of artists, not everybody's like a Juice WRLD that has a duality of, oh, I love to freestyle. Some guys are just, you know, they make great music. That's their specialty. And hearing him say this is like, we're going to always get rage baited by Ebro, but maybe this is just an opportunity to appreciate someone like Drake or appreciate Lil Uzi Vert, because he's using those names to kind of like get some clicks, and because we're not listening to him otherwise. So he's using their names for clicks, but maybe we should just like, instead of like giving him what he wants, we should just appreciate the artist that he's trying to still kick their back in. Lil Uzi Vert's a fucking phenomenal artist. He's not a rookie in the game anymore. After you've been in the rap game for 10 years, still relevant, you still got a #1 song. What are you then? You just a veteran? Because many people don't live to be a veteran. So a lot of people don't last 10 years in this and have a #1 hip hop song 10 years ago and have a #1 hip hop song this year. Somebody said, why is Thank Me Later not a classic to me? I can tell you why. For me, I got to feel an album from all the way. I think Drake was still finding his footing. Some of these songs are just not, they're cool. To me, they were cool. Of course, you know, we know Fireworks, Over, Up All Night, This and Third, but it was just like, yeah, it's a good album. I didn't say it's whack, it's good. It's not classic to me. It's not classic to me. I mean, So Far Gone, you know. With all due respect to even So Far Gone, I don't have So Far Gone as a classic either. I think Drake was finding his footing. Take Care was a perfection. Astroworld, classic. Astroworld was a classic. Astroworld was a absolute classic. Now, a Whole Lot of Red. Whole Lot of Red, there's a conversation to have about Whole Lot of Red. I'm going to tell you why. Because I think Whole Lot of Red is a classic for Cardi's fan base. But when I'm trying to certify a classic, it got to go beyond the fan base. And if we start looking into the aspect of, well, Whole Lot of Red is kind of one of the blueprints of what we're going to say is opium and its influence in hip hop, okay, I'll give it that. But it has to be just more than, you know? Does 21 Savage have classics? I think Savage Mode might be it. Savage Mode? You don't think so? But that was a mixtape, right? Let me see. That was a mixtape, I think. Okay, where are we at with this? That's studio albums. If there was an album that was classic for him, it would be "I Am Greater Than I Was." Okay, and if it was a mixtape, it would be I guess it's an EP. Savage Mode was an EP. Really? Oh, he only had 9 tracks. Okay. Somebody said, "How low is the bar for classic?" I hate when y'all say that because that's y'all being snobby. Music has changed, and music will always continue to change. There will always be classics. Because when an album has impact, and an album influences, and an album is perfect or is a somewhat of a blueprint, Yeezus would have been a classic to me if that album was really good to me. I thought the album was mid to garbage. I ain't gonna lie. Influential? Absolutely. Does Kodak have a classic? Also, if I gotta Google your albums, you might not have it. But it's either Painting Pictures or Dying to Live. Which one's the classic here? Is it Painting Pictures? Nah, I think it's Dying to Live. I think it's Dying to Live. Which one do you call a classic from obviously you could go mixtapes and say Project Baby, right? But or Project Baby 2. Wait, Yak put out a music in 2013? What the fuck? Oh, some people say Institution. Mixtape. Okay. YB got no classics? Are you hating? Don't hate. My Turn by Lil Baby. That's a classic. Yeah. Bro, like, that's a classic album, bro. That was a fucking amazing album. I ain't gonna lie, this album was so good that after I seen a nigga fall off, I was thinking, I'm like, do we got a ghostwriter? Like, bro, I ain't gonna cap with you. This shit was so fire that watching a nigga fall off, I had to wonder if he had a ghostwriter, bro. There's no way you could go from that and
Damn, man.
Trying my hardest.
But yeah, in terms of being a classic, bro, it's like, man, I think niggas hating. But, again, that definition has just changed. And I hope people understand it. The definition just changed, man. It's like, yo, the era we live in now, we're going to just laugh at Ebro, right? Because if we had listened to Ebro, music would have stopped. But it won't. It won't, What's this? Yeah, I don't want to keep giving Ebro's wacky opinions that he's rage baiting. And by the way, I do want to say, actually, I'll just end it with this for Ebro. Ebro, I want to say something sincerely to you because whether you know it or not, you have helped me become who I am by learning what not to do. I keep saying a fool makes the same mistake twice. A smart man learns from his own mistake, and a wise man learns from mistakes of others. I've learned a bunch of things from you, including that, you know, you got to have some humility. You have to realize that this gatekeeper shit is out of here, and you have to be malleable, willing to change, and willing to grow and adapt. And that's the first thing. But second fold, and you know, possibly more important when it comes to like watching, you know, him and watching like how he's trying to like, you know, get some attention is that, yo, Ebro, I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. What you've taught me, and this might be the biggest thing you've taught me, is be a man of your conviction. Don't say shit just to piss off the public. And I feel like you're rage baiting. It's the reason why a lot of y'all come from the radio era where there's what they call shock jocks. Because these conversations y'all are so, you know, opposed to or whatever, you're saying these things that people could get upset, and they're going to use your clip to start the upset train. You don't have honest conversations. You're not willing to, you know, change your mind. You're just saying shit. You feel one type of way, and if you feel Drake could never give you a classic album, why would you even keep listening or covering him? You should just move on. But you know, if you just keep poking the bear and keep like trolling, you're going to get a lot of attention. And for me, I've realized that building an audience is not about saying one thing and everybody comes to my page and be like, oh, nobody watches Ak anymore. Why is he saying this wacky shit? Because that's what they're doing to you. Build an audience that you can have a real discussion with. That's what I think you don't have. Okay. Y'all tired? Don't get tired on me now. Don't get tired on me now. Okay. All right. Let me see. What should we get to first?